Welcome back to another episode of the Laps Down podcast. My name's MJ.
My name is Andrea. Hi. How are
And
you?
we have a busy week this week. It's Indy 500 qualifying week.
I'm so tired. Are you tired?
After watching 2 days
today. I qualified today.
It truly feels like I did something this weekend, and all I've done is plant my ass on the couch and watch other people fight for their lives. Yeah, my eyeballs have just been open.
If you guys are NASCAR fans, I hope you guys had fun with the All-Star race. We're going to be honest. We were a bit preoccupied. We didn't invest our time into the All-Star race. In fact, if you asked me what the All-Star race was, I would say, I wish you could tell me.
I don't know. I know who won.
Who won?
Christopher Bell.
You're joking.
I would never.
Good for him. No points though, right? Just $1 million.
I don't know what he wins. I don't know how he did it. I'm not sure where they are, but I know that he won.
Right. And that's all that matters. I know Carson Hocevar had a pretty car. That's all I need to know. Hey, that's all I need to know. So if you guys are new here, welcome. Hi. We normally talk about NASCAR, not today. We love having you here. Be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to us on. Maybe leave us a review. Some people have been doing that, and that's very kind. And thank you. Thank you dearly. We also, in the show notes of this episode, we'll have a link where you can pre-order a Laps Down hat if you would like. No pressure, but they're very cute, and they're $25. So I think, considering tariffs, that's a pretty good price.
That's not bad for a hat, I feel like.
I just bought a hat today that just says IndyCar on it, and it was $45.
And I bet it wasn't made with love.
No love. None. Not a love. Okay. Well, do we want to talk about IndyCar?
More than anything, I fear.
Yeah. So we had a full week of practice. And this is a kind of an interesting thing because some people would be like, well, why do you need that much practice for just this one race? And do you want to tell them why, MJ? Because it was like 4 days of practice.
Yeah. Something special about the Indy 500 is, I was going to make a wide assumption for other racing series, but for this racing series specifically, they are driving a whole different car than they would for regular ovals or straight and road courses. This is an Indy 500 car. So basically what these couple weeks of, we had open testing and then this past week, it was to figure out how the hell to drive at IMS is what it is.
Just learning this.
Yeah.
Because, it turns out it's pretty dangerous. Yep. Who would have thunk? So it seemed like the first kind of day of practice was them just kind of getting out there. This was on Tuesday. Just getting out there, nobody was going crazy fast, but it was just kind of seeing what was up. And then it kind of seemed like the second day they were maybe practicing a little bit of what it might look like to get behind a car. I think this is where we had the great Nolan Siegel and Christian Rasmussen moment where, it's kind of seemed like, what does it feel like to pass a car? And I don't think Nolan knew that that's what we were doing. And he was like, why are you doing these ballsy moves? And he got pretty mad.
Something along the lines of I have a list of idiots out there and he is the number one idiot. That's me paraphrasing, but it's pretty close if you look up the quote.
Where do you have a list of idiots?
Sure.
I have a list of idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that if I were to make a list of idiots, I don't think Nolan nor Christian would be anywhere near it. They're
no.
I think pretty smart guys, but it's funny that Nolan's they're not. I didn't even think of them as somebody to put on a list of idiots, but that's fair, whatevs. But I don't know. It was interesting. I think that some people were going a little bit ballsier on practice days than others. I think that was the same day we also had Christian kind of have the first moment of practice. I would say that people were getting bored of 6 hours of practice, so they had to make a very big deal out of what I thought was a pretty cool save. They labeled it as a crash. I didn't see a crash. Did you see a crash?
I didn't see he like kissed the wall with his rear. I was like, yeah, that's not a crash. That's fine. That's a scuff. That's a walk in
Yeah,
the park.
yeah,
At IMS, he's fine.
and he hit like a cool little spin. He almost took out Kyle Larson. Didn't though.
Beautiful.
So
Didn't need to.
hey, he took care of it himself. No worries. Because the next day is when we had actual crashes. Kyle Larson hit the front of his car. If you remember, Kyle Larson also crashed during testing. So I think he was already kind of on thin ice. They were like, okay, stop doing that.
Yeah,
And
his first time out, not to mention first time out.
first lap out, he was like, yeah,
This
let's.
guy, get this guy out of here.
Well, and
I'm
this
just
was
kidding.
on Fast Friday, right? So what is Fast Friday?
Fast Friday is where they get their little turbo boost, which it basically is like how they would qualify because they also have that extra power, or they should,
Yeah,
if the hybrid works. Um, hybrid
like
deployed is that little turbo boost.
if you're wondering like what does that look like for reference, like the other practice days, the top speeds we were kind of looking at like a 227, a 226. And then on Fast Fridays, when we started getting those 230 somethings, those were like the
Hmm.
days where we were hitting, and you might be like, oh, that's just a little bit faster. And it's like, well, when you're going around an oval and you hit the wall a little bit faster, it hurts more.
It
So
feels a little bit
it,
faster.
so it's like kind of people putting their foot down and not lifting and really going for it. And Kyle Larson, he went, oh, we're going for it? Okay, cool. Let me get out there then. First lap, just went ahead and smoked the wall a little bit. He hit like the front of his
Sure.
car and then the back of his car. And it looked like TK in the McLaren garage was mad. I mean, he's already on thin ice. You crashed during testing. And it's a first lap out on Fast Friday. Why would you do that? What
Mm,
is what is his problem? Why is he like this?
I don't know. At least he's consistent.
Hey, fair enough. Did anything else happen on Fast Friday?
I think so, but I can't. I feel like there was another crash. I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Mm. It wasn't
Uh,
important because everyone qualified the next day, so it
yeah.
wasn't devastating.
So we that night on Fast Friday, they also do the number picking for qualifying. And I think that some people got confused on this. So I'm gonna just like put it out there for next year so you guys remember. They kind of like randomize the qualifying order because there is definitely better places to qualify. MJ informed me that you would want to be towards the beginning of the line so you have time to cool your engine down before you guys get to like free for all go again, kind of in those two lanes we were talking about in our last episode,
Yeah.
the priority and the what's the other one called? Not priority. Disney
In lane
Fast
two.
Pass and regular.
Yeah, and the track conditions are
Mm.
better because you kind of want a colder track to go out on.
So they kind of randomize it so nobody can be like, oh, rigged, you know what I mean? And so people were picking their numbers, and I think some people thought that that is their qualifying number. Like they qualified first if they
Yeah, that's
picked
like their
one.
starting grid number. Like, oh my god, can't believe Marcus Ericsson just got pole.
Yeah,
Sure.
and so the picking ceremony was really fun. It was very casual. It was on YouTube Live. I'd never watched it before. It's like just in like some conference room somewhere at IMS. It's probably like in the tower or something like that. And a lot of them had like their family or like people on their teams pick for them. And me and MJ were talking about like the amount of like this. I think this is meant to be like something sweet for them to do with their family. Like, oh, their family gets to be part of their Indy 500 experience. If somebody asked me to do that, I would immediately say, not a fucking chance.
No,
Hey, I'm
thank
not
you.
touching that. I'm not touching that table because it's so sad when like their wife or their kid or somebody picks up like 34, 33, and it's like, hey, I might cry.
Yeah.
Did you have a rose and thorn from the ceremony, the picking ceremony? My
Who was? I
thorn,
think it was. Wasn't it Rena's VK's wife
yeah.
who went up and chose 34? And like her, like, and I feel
Oh,
so bad for this woman. Her whole demeanor changed, and she was just kind of like, it's 34. Like, you have to show your little coin to the screen, and she's like looking over at Renus BK, and you can see that Renus is like,
He's really
yeah,
sad.
of course it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And then my rose was Stingray Rob going and picking a very bad number. And he brought up a little dog, like a little service dog,
Hmm.
because his sponsor is related to like veterans and like service dogs or something like that. And he gets a really bad number. And they're like, oh, like, bad luck, huh? And he was like, yeah, it's this dog's fault. He was like, I'm not bringing this dog again. And they like zoom in on the sweetest, cutest little black
It
lab
was a
with like
nice
just like
dog.
little baby girl eyes. And Stingray Rob's like, man, this dog sucks.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta go. I guess we're gonna go continue training for this service dog, because clearly he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing.
But yeah, so that's the order that they go out for the first day of qualifying. So do we want to talk about the first day of qualifying? You want to take it away?
First day of qualifying, we start off with practice, obviously.
Yeah.
And this is probably where one of my favorite storylines, I think, of the weekend. Well, okay, wait. Let me get into it before I say it's my favorite storyline.
Okay.
We have Marcus Armstrong, who is in a Meyer Shank. The Meyer Shanks, as you will notice, cooking.
Cooking with gas.
Some of the best cars out there. Clearly, that open book policy with Chip Ganassi, it's
Pays
working.
off. Yeah.
It's
Pays off.
working pretty good. He goes out there flat out and just ends up sending it straight into the wall in turn 2.
Mhm.
And it's like a bad crash. Absolutely destroyed the car. He needed to be like assisted out of the car. He was on a stretcher. Thankfully he was okay.
Mhm.
The car was total. This car that probably should have put it top 6, I would say,
Mhm.
easily, at least the top 12. Um, which is unfortunate because full field qualifying was happening like a couple of hours later.
Mhm.
So they get the car back into the garage. It's like basically unsalvageable. And I don't think they had a spare tub. Instead, they had his road slash street course car that they
Mhm.
were going to be driving in a couple weeks in Detroit. And as we have stated earlier in this
Not
podcast,
the same.
the Indy 500 car, its own beast. It's its own thing. And they had a really fucking good Indy 500 car. And so now they're like, hey, you know that Detroit TV car? Like, what if we
Mhm.
just like, I mean, we could give you that if you want to try that. Thankfully he was cleared to qualify, ended up qualifying, which we will get to later at the very end of the full field qualifying. But so that's how qualifying day one
Starts.
started. Crazy.
But but then they start like a search for America's Next Top Model, essentially, because they don't know
There's
if
like,
Marcus is going to be cleared or not medically, because again, he was on a stretcher. So
yeah, so
somebody
this
just starts a mad
this
rumor.
rumor goes out that is essentially like, and I think it's like a Bob Pockrish, Jeff Gluck thing where they're like, someone goes, okay, well, what would the situation be if Marcus Armstrong like wasn't able to do the Indy 500? And so these guys who are just like wizards and like know things, they're like, all right, so according to my calculations, they could technically put another person in the car, and it would be one of these 4 people. It's like Catherine
Catherine Lang.
Legg, Pietro Fittipaldi, Linus Lundqvist, and some secret other person whose name I can't remember right now. I don't know. And basically someone was like, actually, funnily enough, Linus Lundqvist was working out at the time of this crash. He's actually headed to the track now, just in case. And this is before Meyer Shank was like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
we're
we're
gonna have a
looking.
different
Yeah,
driver. We don't even know, like, at that point, we didn't even know if we had a car.
right. And
But
Linus was
so
like, I heard you called. Hey.
he was like, make yourself available. Like, you should always make yourself available. So he showed up, probably like cup of coffee in hand to give to like Meyer Shank, shake his hand, and be like, okay, I'll get in the car. That doesn't exist right now.
Yeah.
But
Hey, don't
that
twist my
was
hand.
fun.
I'll
It
do
was
it.
fun for the minute. Um,
What
yeah,
was your
so then
favorite storyline about that? Was it Marcus crashing?
my favorite storyline, well, I mean, I have to tell the whole story. I don't want to tell it all now. So
Carry away.
give me a second. But it does develops into one of personally my favorite storylines of the weekend. But then we get into full field qualifying. Obviously, we had Marcus Ericsson out first. He gets provisional pole for a minute because that's the perk of going first. By default, you get provisional pole.
Right.
We had Pata go out and get provisional pole like almost immediately after that. And then we had this deranged, crazy, insane just the most insane thing I've ever seen. Robert Schwartzman,
Mhm.
who goes, I think, I think he went sixth or like somewhere in the top 10. He goes out and he sets, I mean, it's a fast lap, this Prema car. And if you don't know, for the NASCAR fans who are sticking around for a minute, Robert Schwartzman is a rookie, has never done an
Never.
oval before, and he's a part of Prema Racing, which is this is their first year in the Indy
For
500
Snowball as
and
well.
first oval. And so maybe you're thinking like, okay, but like he's probably done well so far in the season. It's like, no, his car lit on fire. He hasn't had a radio. He's been taken out
Mhm.
by his teammate. It's like,
He hardly ever gets to practice because they're
right,
just like, oh crap, we forgot this is going on this weekend. We don't actually have your car ready.
constant issues, like flooded with issues. Like if Colton Herta weren't on the grid having issues all the time, I would start to feel bad for Robert. He
Hmm.
goes out, sets this beautiful qualifying lap, and goes P6. And the issue with this was is he just stayed P6
It was
all
too,
day.
and you and I both were like, oh my God, like that is just so lucky of him. We thought he was going to crash first time out. Also, like, it was like not an easy day to go out and qualify. It was extremely windy. These cars were like little jet planes taking off in flight. Okay. So me and MJ were kind of like hoping for the best in Robert, as in his car is in one piece and also him. And here's like, don't worry about it, guys. I'm in sixth. I'm not worried.
You you and I, or I mean, at least I was, we were stressing about him being the one kicked out for last chance qualifying. We're like, I don't want to watch Robert not make it into the Indy
It's
500.
gonna
I'm
be
like, at
so
least get him
sad.
33rd. Like, that's the energy we went into this weekend with. Okay, and I cannot stress enough, man's in P6. He stays there all day.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Um, so that happened, and then I think the next storyline we probably hit is Colton Herta has this like insane, devastating crash. His first lap, it's in that same kind of area that Marcus Armstrong had his crash. The car goes into the wall, scrapes the entire side, flips upside down for a bit. Thankfully, he was okay. Shout out to the AMR safety team this weekend. Wow,
Shut up.
you guys
It's
amaze
actually,
me.
I literally like cannot stress enough like how, if you've never considered the sort of safety that they have at these ovals, like these people are amazing at their job. If you ever get a chance to go listen to anything like James Hinchcliffe has ever talked about with his experience with like the safety teams and like all the tools they have and like the training they do, these people are kind of expecting the worst in these crowds. Like they go out there to go get Colton. They literally had to flip his car over, and like they don't know what's going on in there until they flip them over and they're like ready for whatever it may be. Luckily it was nothing, so shout out to
No.
those people.
But so that was his qualifying. Car was absolutely destroyed. This is another storyline, another amazing storyline. I just love how fast they could put these little cars
Yeah.
together. They do such a good job. They end up getting him. He was cleared to race again. In an insane quote from the press conference that happened after day one qualifying, he said he was like, "I'm not afraid to crash here," which I was like, "Hey, can't relate," but I was like,
What,
"Okay."
we have two crazy quotes from that press conference because right before that we have Robert Schwartzman saying, I'm just gonna go full throttle and whatever happens happens.
Yes.
I'm like, guys, when F1 fans try to say like, oh, like F1 drivers can like go to IndyCar and be successful no matter how good they are at F1, and then you hear F1 drivers be like, these people are insane, they're crazy, they're sick and twisted in the head, and I would never be caught dead on the IMS track. This is what they don't have this. Whatever this crazy is, they don't have it.
No. And I highly recommend you guys got to go listen to this press conference because you're not going to believe anything we say that happened out of it. But Robert Schwartzman, before saying that line, was like, that was the scariest thing I have ever done in my entire life. He's like, I have never been, of all the different times I've raced, different series I've raced, even in stake F1 qualifying, he's like, or I guess not qualifying. I don't know if he raced with that. None of my
Practice,
business.
yeah.
he was like, I have never been worried before putting out a lap. And he's like, not only was I worried, I had to put out 4 laps. He's like, for that whole time, he's like, it took every ounce of me to be able to mentally focus for that. And then a couple minutes later, he's like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna go full out and whatever happens, happens. I'm like,
Honestly,
hey,
he's so good for IndyCar. I love this for
dude,
him. They couldn't
just
contain
like,
his crazy.
wow.
I didn't even know he had this crazy in him. He's been hiding it in F1. He's been
I was
driving
not
this
familiar with his game. That kid's a lunatic. Put him on pole.
insane. Hey,
Whoa, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyways, he's sitting in P6 right now. Um, but yeah, Colton Herta eventually was able to get out, not in like the first round of full field qualifying, but when they do the little lane situation later in the day. We end the first part of the day with Alex Palou on provisional pole, which I don't know if you guys have ever listened to us before, but specifically in the last episode we had, Andrea was talking pretty big game, not me, but Andrea was like, there's no way Alex Palou is going to win the Indy 500, which I guess we shall see. But that was, I don't know, the Ganassi's are cooking. The Ganassi's, the Meyershanks, they're cooking. And then we go into the situation with the 2 lanes. So obviously you have lane 1, which is the Disney Fast Pass lane. What you have to do is you have to have a little slip of paper that says your position in qualifying, and you have to like hand it over and be like, okay, I'm giving you this time that I've already set. I want priority to go out and set a new one. Which I think is really cute. I think it's cute that they have to get the little slip of paper.
it's like
This is
it's a physical representation of a non-physical thing that they own. That's adorable.
exactly. It's very J.A. Biztown of them. So
Yeah.
they give their little slip of paper over, they get to go out, and then obviously if you're in the second lane, you get to go. You don't have to give up your time, but if there's someone in lane number 1, they get priority over you. So sometimes you're just going to be sitting waiting. Which is what happened with Connor Daly. So Connor Daly had set a lap, and it was pretty good. It was like top 20. But then because of something, I can't remember what it is. We've been doing this for like 14 hours straight this weekend. He had to have his lap time deleted. And so he needed to go back out, and he was sitting. Why was he in lane 2 now that I think about it?
No, he's a crazy gamble, I think.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know. I just work here. So he was in lane 2, and then we had Marco Andretti, who
Needed to let it rest. This man was like
he
going time after time after time after time
yes,
in that priority lane. And it was like, buddy, let it go. You're going to the last chance qualifier. Congratulations. You're
he
not
was
not going there.
dude. I don't know what was with the Andrettis. Like going into this weekend, Kyle Kirkwood looked like he was going to be the fastest Andretti. That was not the case. And then all of the Andrettis just kind of shit the bed besides Marcus Ericsson. But then we have, Mario Andretti. He's trying to beat out Graham Rahal, who is sitting 30th, has not made it into the show on the first day since 2022. So we're just like looking over at the Graham Rahal cam, and he's just sitting there like, fucking Marco.
Can't wait
What are you
to
gonna do?
see what you do.
Literally. So he had gone out a couple times, and then he was just slow enough that Connor Daly, who was first in the second row, was able to go out and set a qualifying time.
Time was at this point, like at 2 minutes, they were like, this is the last person unless Connor Daly doesn't set a time faster than what he's already
Right.
done.
And then, like, if you're out there and you're setting a time and it's not faster, they'll just call you off to, like, save time. So he wouldn't have completed all 4 laps. But this man was cooking. This man was out there from, I don't know, he was having, like, a God-level experience. And he set just under, I think it was, like, less
They
than
said
half.
0.1 second or some shit like that. Some crazy thing.
He was so close to top 12 and just parks himself at P13. But it was truly an amazing effort, especially from like the hometown boy. They were doing a great job commentating,
Yeah.
but unfortunately he sat there. And then we had our 4 drivers who didn't make it: Marcus Armstrong, Jacob Abel, Marco Andretti, and Renus BK, who are going to the last chance qualifying. And also, if you care, Kyle Larson got P22 or P21, I think.
Why would they care? Why do we care about this man?
P21. I know.
Hey, before we move on to second day qualifying, can I just clarify? Right now, I'm actually in an Airbnb in Indianapolis. It's called the Gamer Oasis. I just got self-conscious about the Game On sign in the background.
She just
Anyways, continue.
remodeled.
Continue. I'm in a
Game
gamer
on.
chair.
She's adopting a new identity.
Hey, no worries. Continue. Hey, sorry for interrupting the pod. Hey, don't even look at me. It's fine. Keep going.
All right. And day number 2, which is actually the day that we are filming this,
Right now.
Sunday. I don't know why I said that. Guys, sometimes I just worry that you guys don't know when we're filming. We're filming on Sunday.
Sometimes
We
we
start
don't,
off. That's
but
true.
today we
Sometimes we
did.
don't. We actually, funny story. I mean, if you're gonna derail the podcast, we might as well just like give it a
And
minute, let it
yeah,
breathe.
yeah.
We were
We don't want
actually
to move
going to,
on too soon. Yeah, like we'll
right.
get to day two. We've got to keep it
I
hanging.
want you guys to feel the time between after watching all of that in day 1 to having to wait until day 2 for this to resume. So, what I was gonna say is we actually weren't gonna film tonight. We were gonna film probably
Tuesday
Tuesday.
and
But
post
actually
on
multiple
Wednesday.
people messaged us and said that they were excited to hear our episode tomorrow, so that's why we're filming at 11 o'clock at night.
And for
Anywho's,
that reason, you should leave us a 5-star review, please.
please.
I'm
Just
so
know we
tired.
do care about you.
I'm still wearing my makeup that I put on at 8 a.m. this morning for you guys. Anywho, day two.
Anywhoozy, we're on to day 2. And the practices were held before we had our qualifying. We had our top 12 practice, and then we had our last chance qualifying practice. And in the top 12 practice, and bless his heart, I don't think he I don't think he meant to do this. Ryan Hunter-Reay was in the booth. I don't know if you could hear him from the track, but as he got into the booth, he was like, I was hoping the weather wasn't going to be so nice today. I was hoping it was going to be like yesterday so I could see some like incidents on the track so I could kind of, because he was making fun of Townsend Bell, because whenever anything happens, Townsend Bell goes, whoa! And so he was like, I kind of wanted to do that. And so he had like done, like, as soon as he finished it and done like a whoa, they go, there's a crash. And I go, Ryan Hunter-Reay, how did you do that? Crazy. But Scotty Mac had also a pretty bad accident.
He was practice. If they had practice before they do qualifying,
Yeah.
and it was like
Yeah. It was
he was
during
supposed to be
practice.
just chilling. Yeah,
He was like doing an attempted quali lap. He was full out and just kind of sent it into the wall coming out of turn 2. I feel like everything happened out of turn 2. That's none of my business though. Maybe it wasn't turn 2. And completely destroyed the car. He almost went upside down. Thankfully he didn't. Thankfully he was okay. Car demolished.
not okay.
Like,
yeah,
worse than what we've seen before. And also there was a huge crater, not a crater, but like a huge gouge is what they kept saying in the track. Did you see it? I mean,
no.
they like put their hand over it and you could see, I mean, there were inches.
What did they do?
They filled
Did
it
they
up.
fill it?
Yeah,
oh,
they
that's
did
a good idea.
Yeah, thank God. Am I right? I just had never seen that before. Like, I've seen like little damage, like scrapes and stuff, and like damage to like the safer barriers. But I mean, he took a chunk out of the earth, and then looked us in the eye and went, "It wasn't that bad." I go,
he said that in the broadcast. He said it wasn't that bad.
yeah. He's like, "No, it wasn't that." That's what all these motherfuckers keep saying. They come out and they go,
bad.
"I'm not scared to crash here." I'm like, "You're tempting it. Stop."
I'm scared if that counts for anything. I don't want to see that. No, we got
like to crash here.
We were at the track and we had just walked in to sit down, and we like just see him flipping through the air, and I'm like, right. And I said something to outside line media, Ryan and Patrick, and I said something of like, it's crazy how all these cars keep flipping, and they're like, oh well, like they're not all going upside down. It's because of this like technology or something that's supposed to make it not flip. And I'm like, right, like the flaps on the top of Ryan Priest's car, it's not working. I see them flipping. I see them flipping upside down. Like 3 people this weekend have flipped upside down. So
they've been
that's
getting
probably a problem.
Air for sure, which isn't typical. But so that happened. He was supposed to participate in the top 12 qualifying. Obviously, he didn't have a car, so how is he going to participate in top 12 qualifying? but they showed us like a little clip of them taking the engine out of the like spare tub that was Joseph Newgarden livery
Hmm.
wrapped, and I was like, what are you saying?
Hmm.
Were you just expecting it to be Joseph Newgarden for some reason? But so he didn't have a car to qualify today, but he will have a car tomorrow, they said, by 1 p.m. So at 1 p.m., I'm going to be checking. I'm going to be like, hey, Scotty Mack in a car yet?
Let's see it. Let's see it, buddy.
But it was
But
particularly devastating because that was a really good car. And you could
yeah,
see by his body language that he was very upset.
yeah, it was pretty bad, and it was kind of weird too because it's like we just got there ready to watch qualifying. He's done for the day. He's done everything that could possibly be. Like we have no idea what could have happened today. He could have been the person to have gotten pole like he did last year. He could have made the fast six. He could have like when stuff like that kind of takes people out for the whole day, it's kind of weird because then there's like this whole alternate universe of what the Indy 500 of
Yeah.
2025 could have looked like. You have no idea at that point. Same with like yeah, Marcus Armstrong. You're just kind of like, now what? Like
I
it's
think
somebody's lucky day, but it's at their expense.
absolutely. And that's like what they kept saying on the broadcast is like Indy chooses its winner, which is
Yeah.
there is luck involved. You can't just have a good car and be a good driver. Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then we had last chance practice, and that was just really sad. And kind of
What?
uneventful. It was just us going, which Dale Coyne is going to be worse, and then me being really stressed out about the fact that one of them's not going to continue on to the race, and that's kind of all it
What's
was.
what's wrong with those cars? Why are they like that?
I I don't know, and they don't know either because they were fine on Friday, and then we get into Saturday, and it's like, hey, buds, you lost pace overnight. How did that happen? And
I
then
don't
today,
understand.
it was hoarser.
Yeah, it was like depressing. I think that they were like putting up times like again just for reference you can like understand everybody at this point was in the 230s. Okay? It was basically like, oh, the difference between like fast 6 and top 12 is like, you know, 231 versus 232. You get to the last chance qualifiers, Marcus Armstrong shouldn't be there. He's there because of the crash. So he's putting in pretty normal times, maybe a little slow. Gale coins were at like 227s, 228s,
No, worse than that. 226.
226.
226 is what they ended the day at. But they were just like, you were watching them just bleed speed, which I mean, we'll talk about later in the last chance qualifying because we got to watch it again. But so
How
basically, nothing
excited.
happened. Nothing happened during practice, and then we move on to the top 12 qualifying. And straight off the bat, I'm looking at my
Mhm.
television, and I see the number 2 and the number 12 get wheeled back. And I go, wait a minute. Isn't there something you're supposed to be doing right now? Don't you want to qualify? You can't qualify from the garage because then you can't qualify if you go to the garage. Yes?
Can I start this off with a detail we didn't include from day one, which was that we had a few people, Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden, and maybe like one other person that failed technical inspection. But it's really not a big deal. They get to go back and fix it once they pass. They just had to go to the end of the line for qualifying, and we thought nothing of
Yes.
that. Continue with your story.
Yes. So the information we hear it first from the broadcast, is that there is on the rear attenuator, which is it's a safety device. Basically, it just like it absorbs impact. So if you're gonna hit the car from the rear, it's gonna absorb the impact. Next to it, there's a seam, and it's kind of, I mean, it's a seam. It's a clunky seam. They had filled in this seam, presumably for aerodynamic purposes,
Hmm.
which is not allowed. And what we learn is that this was pointed out by Chip Ganassi as they were, of course it
Mhm.
was, as they were getting in line to qualify. Both cars, according to Tim Cindric, had passed pre-race or pre-qualifying inspection, which is interesting because this was not allowed. And then it's really clunky what Tim Cindric was saying, and I hope more information comes out. And if it does, we'll keep you updated. But it sounded like they were going to fix it in line for qualifying, but then Tim Cindric was like, we didn't want to like mess with the integrity of the competition because this was going to be an issue and technically we shouldn't have been able to fix it. We decided to pull our cars. Interesting. And we also
Wow.
learned that
How honest of you.
how honestly heroic from two cars that are owned by Penske, who
Oh,
owns the
thank you.
series and
Thank
the
you so
track that
much
they're
for
racing at
pulling
currently.
for courageously pulling your own cheating cars when somebody called you out on it without even being asked to because you own the series. Oh, you're so brave.
I was just like, but we learned that the number 3 car that crashed earlier that morning did not have the same issue. They were like, we dug through the rubble of the car, and turns out that one was fine. So now before qualifying has even started, we have a 4th row lockout from Penske because Scotty Mack, who crashed, and then the other 2 cars who are pulling themselves out. My question is, they qualified yesterday and passed pre-race inspection yesterday, presumably had the same issue. Should they not be disqualified or moved to the back of the grid? Should Jacob Abel not be able to take their spot? Like,
Well, I mean, I think Pato agrees with that.
I saw
I
that.
would I would bet that Chip Ganassi agrees with that.
I'm sure most people would if they have enough money to talk back to the owner of the series and owner of the track that they are currently racing at. I just found that interesting. I also, to be fair, to give Penske a little, throw them a bone, it's not a safety issue, apparently, having that seam filled. And those 2 cars that had this fill were not significantly, but quite a bit slower than the 1 car who didn't. So it's not clearly giving them an advantage. However, it sounds like it's against the rules in that they shouldn't have passed race inspection, which kind of brings everything into question.
I'm just going to ask. So the last Penske issue that we had, it was Joseph and Will who got in trouble, right? And then not Scotty Mack?
No, they all got in trouble. Scotty Mack just didn't use it. It's definitely something.
It's strange that they would like fill the seam on 2 cars and not a third.
And
like, it's so weird. It's not one part of the team that decided to do it. It's 2 parts of the 3-person team that decided to do that. That's strange.
There's a lot of, I wish we had more information, and hopefully more will come out this week and we can talk about it next week. But the way that Tim Cindric was kind of making it sound was he like was kind of evading, like, okay, but then why did you fill it on 2 cars? And also, what does it do? And he was just kind of like, he like wouldn't say that it would make a difference or like that they were trying to do it to like achieve an aero advantage or anything. The whole thing just felt very weird. And I don't like to root against Tim Cindric because he's actually part of one of my favorite Nepo baby families.
Do you guys know Austin Cindric? Have you guys ever heard of Austin Cindric? He has a mustache sometimes.
He looks like our friend
really
Caleb.
Nice. He's really nice, and he looks like our friend Caleb, so we like him.
Yeah, but
except for that one time he stole the duel from Eric Jones. That's the only time I've never liked Austin Cindric. That was really cruel
of him.
That was so mean and twisted of you.
Truly, but
I don't want to say that they're like cheating. It's just like, what else in my reaction am I supposed to have? Right? This is like, I think this is the rash reaction everybody's having, where everybody's like, you cheated, cheater, cheat. And I think it's because there's a broken trust there. Because it's like, why won't you tell us why you did it? Why won't you tell us what the decision process was to do? Because that is a deliberate choice that was made. I honestly think if they would just be more forthcoming with this sort of information, it would be like, well, you can't blame a team for trying, right? I think people would like have a different reaction to it.
It also brings into question these like pre-qualifying inspections. They had a professional on who they were like, okay, so what's the T? And they were like, they had I wrote it down, a body fit evaluation violation. And I was like, but they didn't, because you guys said that they were good to race. So why is what I want to know. And also, I think they should. I love them both. I love Joseph
Yeah.
Newgarden. I love Will Power. But like, you can't be Roger. Roger, you can't
I
be doing this.
you of all teams cannot be doing this. You have to be. It's your rules. You have to
You
follow them.
and okay. To be fair, I'm
Roger thinks
sure
he's
other
not in the
teams.
garage. Roger, also to
Right?
be fair, also Roger thinks he's not in the garage.
Roger's not in the
Like,
garage, but like also,
can we fill this seam? Have we thought about filling this seam?
what if we put a little something right there? To be fair, I'm sure there's stuff on like the other cars that are either like in a operating in a gray area or whatever. But it's like you got caught. You got caught with this, and then they said it was an issue. You should be disqualified. Had they pointed something out, like heaven forbid, had they pointed something out on the Creed car and been like, you can't have that, I would have been like, Fro, why have you done this? You have to be disqualified. Like, you can't, you have to be disqualified. You have to have your time wiped. You had to go to, why weren't their asses out there for last chance qualifying? If nothing but more to humiliate them and start them from the back.
It would have saved Renus.
We would have saved the Dale coins. That was so painful. I can't wait to talk about that in about 10 minutes. So that's how it started. And then we had, I gotta be honest, it was eventful, but I think after all of the drama of the Penske stuff, it's like...
There's something that I thought was eventful or something to take away from the top 12. Mm-hmm. So everybody went. We had, basically because the Penskes were out, various other people put in slower laps, like Christian Lundgaard, I think, who went out first, kind of got not a great end of the deal. There was like kind of a bubble that David Malukas was like maybe gonna make the top 6. And they were just waiting for Alex Palou. Alex Palou's last one to go. And Alex Palou put in, and I can't stress this enough, the bare minimum to make it into the Fast 6, which unfortunately then bumped David Malukas out, which was really sad. I unfortunately was sitting right in front of the AJ Foyt area, and he had to like hug his team. It was really sad. It was like honestly crushing. It's honestly crushing.
Alex, did you think about that when you did that?
But everybody was so surprised because Alex Palou was quite slow. I mean, he was comfortably 6th. And I remember turning and kind of being like, well, what else would he do? I mean, he's the last one to go out. He has a benchmark. He knows what he has to do to make it. Why wouldn't you just do the bare minimum? And like, you know what that looks like. You can just do exactly what you have to make it in and nothing more to save it for later. So everybody was like, oh, Alex Palou looks so slow. Oh my God, he sucks now. LOL, loser, nerd. And I was like, I don't know, guys. I think Alex Palou might still have some speed in him. Keep that in mind for later.
Yeah, keep that in mind for later. Although you do make a good point because it goes from like 6th to 1st later in the day. Although the track is cooling down, but
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you're cooking with something.
I so just we have like, that, because they have to cool their engines and shit. Like, it's not that much time between the 12 and the 6. It's a little time, but not as much as they have like the day before in qualifying.
The day before. So from that we learn who is 7th through 12th on the grid. We have David Malukas in 7th, Christian Lundgaard in 8th, which that one I was pretty surprised by. Marcus Ericsson in 9th, Scotty Mack in 10th, and then Joseph in 11th, and Will Power in 12th. We have that 4th row lockout from Penske, which is interesting because last year we had a front row lockout from Penske, but I don't know. We can talk about that later. Fro was on provisional pole, headed into the Fast 6, and you'll never guess who was sitting, who was headed into the Firestone Fast 6 along with Fro.
Robert second.
Schwartzman.
He's fast, guys. He went out there and put a smoker of a first lap out. I think it was like the fastest that they had all weekend, and everybody was like, "Hey, just what?" It was. The car was like, it was like so fast you couldn't even see it. It's like Robert Schwartzman's in that? You mean that? Are you serious right now?
You just broke the sound barrier, and you want me to believe that's Robert Schwartzman? Crazy. So then we're kind of like running off this little high of being like, no, that was fun, the little Fast 12, and then they're like, and now you have to watch Last Chance Qualifying, and it's gonna actually be the saddest thing you've ever seen. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna make these poor little Dale Coyne boys go out over and over and over, and then knock out their teammate.
Can I just say the energy shift? When like you see people putting in like 233s, 232s. They like go out for their warm-up lap for the first like little go at qualifying last chance qualifying. And it's like at 223 we have Marco Andretti.
God.
Oh God.
I was talking to Haley during this, and I was just like, what if we just skip this? What if
Hey.
could we vote somebody out? I think that would be less painful than watching this. But, so we had Andretti and Armstrong. They went out first. They set like a pretty good lap, and then that was just kind of what they worked with the whole time. And then Jacob Abel went out. He put up a lap. He was provisionally P3, which meant he would have made it into the Indy 500. And then Rinus VeeKay went out and he put up a lap, and now he was provisionally P3. And then we just had to watch Jacob Abel squirm for like 40 minutes. He went out for a cooling lap. That didn't help. And then he put up another lap, and it's like, no, that's not better than your first one. Call it off, broski. And then Rinus VeeKay was like, here's my slip of paper, good sir. I would like to go again in lane 1 and actually give up my time.
To give you my time back. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. He was fine. But
he was in the Indy 500.
He gave up the time.
And I'm like dead ass looking into camera being like, hey guys, what? And so he gets out there and we have no information on why he decided to do this. The booth is like, what is going on? Why is he doing this? And we see him do his warm-ups, and we're like, okay, those are warm-ups. And he puts up his first lap slower. It is slower than his first lap from the previous time. And now I feel like I'm looking directly at Will Buxton being like, hey, do you have any idea what's going on? I know I don't. Puts up his second lap.
Let's cut to Danica Patrick, actually. I don't want to watch this.
Does anybody have any information? Puts up his second lap significantly slower than his first qualifying attempt. And now we're getting a brief little conversation with Dale Coyne, and he goes, well, I'm just letting him fight it out. VeeKay actually didn't have his hybrid the first time when he set the qualifying lap that was going to get him into the Indy 500. So they were like, oh, well, maybe if we do a second attempt with the hybrid, he'll be faster, and I don't know what they're expecting out of it. But Dale Coyne goes, but apparently not. Apparently it's making him slower. And I was like,
Apparently that is happening.
So
and
he
also
finishes...
He said something also to the effect, right, of like, his fate is in his own hands or something.
Right.
And I'm like,
because he was essentially... He was essentially letting, because it was Dale Coyne versus Dale Coyne on Dale Coyne crime, he was letting them be their own team, make their own decisions, and kind of compete against each other, whereas, like, had they been qualifying for top 12, they would have had access to each other's information, whatever, what have you. So his lap is significantly slower. This is, like, upsetting to even talk about. This is so fucked up. And so Jacob Abel is now looking at his time being significantly slower, and oh my god, you can like feel like a little bit of hope blossoming. Like the world got brighter for a second in Jacob Abel's eyes. And he's like, oh, well, Rinus VeeKay just went out and did this dog shit lap. Maybe there is hope for me. He gets out. First lap. It's so slow. It's so slow. I'm like, they're going to black flag him. They're going to tell him his car cannot operate anymore. And it just kept getting worse. It kept getting slower. Guys, I cannot express to you. It kept getting slower. And we had a little Rinus VeeKay cam. We were watching. Rinus VeeKay looked like he was going to barf. Like, he looked sick. He was hunched over. His face was pale. Just watching, after doing this dookie lap, just watching his teammate try to knock him out of the Indy 500. And
he does.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't get knocked out of the Indy 500. Jacob Abel doesn't get to go into the Indy 500 as a rookie.
I think that there should be like a minimum speed sort of situation where it's just like they can decide at the moment, like maybe both of you guys, it's not for you, you know?
Yeah, well, and what may happen, not what will probably happen, I would never say that. If you get into the race and you are slow, they will call you off. they'll be like, you have to
It's
get
like
ready.
we just can't be doing this. Like you can't be going like a 226. You can't be going a 226 at 8,500 qualifying. You can't. Dude, Queen, that's not a car that you made. I don't know what you made. It's not an Indy 500 car.
It was really fast on Friday. What happened? But anyways, so we got to watch that, and it was really fun. And then we move on to the Firestone Fast Six. Vibes immediately change. Takuma Sato comes out, puts up 2:33, and I'm like, oh my god, Indy 500 is saved. That man just did a god tier lap, which, looking at it in hindsight, I think it was just after watching maybe the most pitiful lap in my entire life. Going to Takuma Sato doing 2:33, I was like, okay.
They said over the broadcast because we didn't have Will or James or anybody, whoever was doing it at the track. They said, now we can get back to some real speed. I was like, hey, that's mean.
Don't say that about my friend.
Hey, that's mean.
That's mean.
Hey, so they can cheer you.
Takuma Sato comes out, puts out a killer lap, and then he is P1 provisionally, which is just a perk of going first. And then we have Alex Palou come out, and Alex Palou's actually not looking too hot. He's
still slow.
He's slower than he's actually been all weekend, which is crazy. Because it did look like he was trying. So that was interesting. Puts it in P2. And then we have Scott Dixon come out, and he's cooking. And we got a nice little treat from Fox. They gave us a driver's eye ghost car. So we were watching him race Takuma Sato, but Takuma Sato wasn't actually there.
And I will be honest with you guys. Takuma Sato was whooping him a little bit.
He was chasing Takuma Sato is what he was doing. And that guy was in a different league, I'll say.
Can we, real quick, because, I don't know if we'll come back to it. Can we, dissect more the Takuma Sato situation? Because I can't stress you guys enough. He's, 48 years old. He's in an RLO. He's the only RLO out there right now.
Broken ribs.
He had a broken rib from the testing crash that he took at 48 years old, by the way. Yeah, by the way, at 48 years old, he took a 94G crash during testing. No worries. And he did it with a smile on his face. I think he was smiling while he was crashing. I think he was like, yay, that sucks.
He giggles. That man does giggle. I love him to death. I love that man to death. So when I was like, he's kicking my favorite driver's ass, I was like, okay. All right, Takuma.
Sorry, Scott Dixon.
But so Scott Dixon goes out, not faster than Takuma Sato. However, is faster than Alex Palou. And then... Wait, I want to make sure I have the order right. The order of operations.
That's very important. Wait,
and
I have a question. How did they decide the order for... Did they go back to front for the, fast... Okay, because I was like, why are we doing it this way? I was like, how did this happen like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. After
Robert
Scott Dixon, who went... Oh, I can't wait to hear about this one.
And my man gets out there, and first lap, he's cooking. And I go, okay, but surely he's going to drop significantly. He can't keep this speed forever. Robert? No. Stake F1 reserve driver? No. And then he puts up another lap. Rookie. For Prema, who's also a rookie team who has never done an oval. And then he puts up another lap, and I go, whoa, that's suspiciously consistent with his first really fast lap. This is getting pretty crazy. He does a third lap, and I go, there's no way. And then I go, wait, there is a way. Pretty consistent. Fourth lap. And by fourth lap, I go, holy fucking shit balls. He's P1.
Also, I will try to paint the picture the best I can. Going into this weekend, everybody was like, okay, it's going to be either Jacob Abel or Robert Schwartzman that gets bumped, right? And everybody's like, mm-hmm. Sitting in the crowd, watching this man put in this lap, the whole place erupts. Every single person in that stand is cheering for Robert Schwartzman. Everybody wants him to do well. Everybody is like, fuck all the favorites. Fuck whoever your favorite team is. It's Robert Schwartzman. We want this kid to, because he's giddy. You can tell when he gets out of this car. He's never probably felt this way in his racing career because it's like, you can't replace this.
He said in a post-race interview, wait, no, Okay, you probably already know who got pulled. I was like, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want you to know who got pulled. He
If
said
they're
in a
here.
post he said in a post-race interview, he was like, sometimes I would just like kind of dream, like daydream about what it was like to get like pole position at the Indy 500, and then I'd be like, no, Robert, you have to be realistic. I just,
Wait, what did I literally text you the other day? Oh my god, the after qualifying day one,
yeah.
MJ, you texted something of like, I bet Robert is so happy right now. And then I responded with, he's probably in bed right now in his okay. Why do I feel like you said hey, remember we were mass hallucinating that Robert Schwartzman was in P6 for Indy 500 qualifying? That was crazy. And I said, why do I feel like right now Robert is going to sleep being like, wow, today was a great day. I don't even have to go to sleep because all my dreams have already come true. That is dead ass what he said, basically.
That's his energy. Okay, but anyways, we're not done yet. So Robert Schwartzman goes
Mm,
P1, and I cannot overemphasize the company he is in. He's beating out Takuma Sato. He's
mhm,
beating out Scott Dixon. He's beating out Alex Pillow. Okay?
mhm,
And then we have, allegedly, I don't know, I'm watching Robert Schwartzman, but allegedly Pato's taking a spin at the Indy 500
mhm.
qualifying or whatever.
Well,
Like,
I thought like, okay, that was fun, but Potter's about to go ahead and put this to sleep.
Will Buxton was like, I wasn't up there. They were like celebrating Robert Schwartzman's like provisional P1, and he was like, hey, just so you guys know, like Pato is going, he's actually on his second lap right now. So we didn't even have coverage of the first part of it, but he kind of wiggled, got a little loose. Apparently he was having issues with his hybrid, but then the Fox broadcast was like, okay, but we're getting different readings, so that doesn't really make sense. Whatever, what
He
have
used it
you.
all. I think on the last lap, I think they were like, "Oh, Pato's just going ahead and
Yeah,
use it all of it." So like he
but it
got
sounded
the
like
use out of it.
it was, yeah, I don't know. It was weird. They were just trying to get me interested in Pato's qualifying when I was too busy being excited for Italy. He went P3, whatever, who cares? I'm just kidding. We do care. And then they had
Mhm.
the Creed car, and I feel really bad about this because had I not been still kind of reeling from Robert cooking, I think I would have really appreciated this. But he was going, and Will Buxton said, because he's in the
Mhm.
Creed car, he goes, "Can you take me hybrid?"
Mhm.
That's good. I like that. I would have really liked that. I would have fucked heavy with that, and in
Okay.
the moment I couldn't appreciate it, but now that I've had some time to think about it, that was pretty good. He was fast, and for a second I think he was kind of teasing us, but he dropped off in speed pretty significantly by the end of his 4 laps, and he ended up P5. So we are walking out of qualifying weekend with a rookie on pole, a
For the first
rookie
time in,
first
I
time in
think
41 years.
that's a long time, guys. That's a long time.
And then they expect us to wait a week? Huh? For the race? Huh?
They
That's fucked
expect
up.
Robert. They expect Robert to wait a week. Like this man is gonna be like, "Can we do it now? I don't want to wait."
I'm just so excited.
But like,
I'm
if you guys are like F1 fans and we still have not convinced you to watch IndyCar, this is the sort of cinema you're missing out on. But more than that, if you're an F1 fan who loves the energy of just excited Italian teams, I wish you were there for this because those Prema people, they were jumping for joy. They were lifting each other up and spinning each other around and dancing and kissing and hugging and like they were like the most excited people I've ever
I fear I fear Prema's IndyCar team is the Ferrari that we needed this morning at
seen.
Imola.
They came through.
They put their whole Italiusi in the Prema IndyCar team.
They also like Callum Isla is somewhere being like, what the
What?
fuck?
Like, that's just another layer upon why this does not make any sense. Like, what happened? Callum had the superior car for almost all of the season so far. To be fair, it
It
wasn't that
is
hard. There were
superior is a strong word. It was just
so
better and less
better
fire.
than bad, you know? Um, and he's done the Indy 500 before. He's done ovals before. He's not bad at ovals. Just like genuinely, I cannot express to you how much none of this makes sense to me, and I'm really afraid that like tomorrow morning I'm gonna open my phone and it's gonna be like Prema disqualified, and I'm
There was a little point. I turned to Celine from Pony Pop and I go, "Do you think he's cheating?"
but
I was
like,
like,
and so I told my mom about this, and I was like, "There's a rookie up there," and I told her the whole shebang with like Prema and stuff, and she was like, "So do you think like who's pulling the strings to make that happen?" And I was like, "I don't think that you could pull enough strings to get him on pole."
the point of the point of the strings would have been to like get him in like 20th place or something. That's
Just to
like
make
what
sure
you
he
would have
doesn't get
maybe
to
pulled
like
this.
last
Yeah.
chance qualifying. Yeah, I'm like, this is I mean, strings, I mean, it would be ropes and it wouldn't be possible. I just don't
It would be
understand what
cranes.
happens.
It'd be cranes. You'd have to
Mm,
crane shit to get him on pole. Like, and it would be too unbelievable. Why would you cheat and make it so unbelievable?
right. Like you're cheating too hard. Like when the Penske's cheated and it's like, what are you even cheating for? It's clearly not improving your performance. You're just cheating because you get a high off of it, aren't you? This isn't like that.
No. And there's so many layers to this. Um, he also has a rap career.
Oh, and it was okay. So we've known about his rap career. We've mentioned his rap career on the podcast. We kind of keep it hush hush
Do
because
you
it's
think we can play
embarrassing.
it? Do you think like it's
I
copyright
doubt.
free?
I doubt it. I'm sorry. He makes
That was
big
me
money. He's a pole
slamming,
setter.
and that was
He
me
needs that
slamming my
money.
phone down, by the way, for the audio listeners. I slammed my phone down in disgust.
But like immediately after he gets pole position, Bob Pockers tweets out, "Oh, and also, just so you know, everyone go stream. I don't know what it is. It's like actual or
Always or something.
actuary. Oh,
I don't know.
accurate, Acura,
It's called active.
active. So yeah, everyone go stream that. But then also the IndyCar accounts also posted it, and I was like, hey, I think
I think I would have stopped trying. That's not the flex you think it is. I think we should have like honestly made him go private on Instagram.
oh Lord, bless his heart though. Really, I'm so excited for him. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what
So
happens.
I think he's. Oh my god, guys! I'm so sorry. It is like 11:30 p.m. But I think that he. I'm so tired of betting against him because I know I shouldn't because I've clearly been made a fool. We literally just did a whole segment on the last podcast about how he'd be better off getting bumped so he doesn't die. and now and now he's on pole. So what do I know? I don't think he's gonna convert it to a win, right?
No, and I don't think he's expecting that either. I want him to convert it to a finish.
Right, okay. Anyways, what were you gonna say when you pointed
I was
aggressively at
gonna
me?
say, if you guys are real fans and watch, I'm just kidding.
Mm,
I love you all. But
I
if you
win,
guys
right?
watched our beginning of the season predictions, Andrea and I, this is maybe one of our first arguments ever. She said we had to choose like who our like rookie of the year was going to be, and I said at the time it was just Robert Schwartzman and Louis Foster, who previously won Indy Next, and so I said Louis Foster, and she said Robert Schwartzman, and I immediately gave her grief for it, and I
Bullied.
was like, you think the man who has never done an oval before is going to beat Indy Next champion Louis
Wait,
Foster?
wait, what's worse than that? I said he doesn't need to do well. He just needs to do better than Louis
Yeah,
Foster. And
it was crazy.
you still were like, he's gonna have Roman Grosjean do his ovals for him.
Yeah, and now at this point,
I've won.
he's yeah, David Land. Oh, game on, game on, game on. Andrea has this sign because she's in the gamer oasis. She has this sign behind her that says game on. It's a little LED sign, and we were trying to get it. She was trying to get it to turn on
You were there.
before I was there before we started filming, and she couldn't get it on. And she was like, sometimes it just like turns on after I press the button, but it just turned on. So
I know you guys
what a
are all
special
waiting
episode this
I know
is.
you guys are waiting to see it on. I'm so excited I can do that for you guys. Oh,
Oh, it's off. Game
she got
off.
nervous. She got nervous. That's fair.
She has
Um,
performance anxiety.
I can't believe Howard Schwartzman's on pole for the Indy 500. It's honestly unserious to me. Like,
I just,
let's just move on. What is there
it's
to
just like
say?
magical at the end of the day. Like any of us could do it.
What did you add to the notes here about the F1 movie? What is this, MJ?
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm
Wait,
like,
pause. This is the F1 section of the show now. Hello, welcome to the F1 timestamp. If you use
we are
timestamps
going to
on
be
YouTube, this is
transitioning
F1.
into talking about F1.
Don't
Thank
be
you for
alarmed.
joining us for the IndyCar segment of our podcast. Um, so people were bitching about the F1 movie, and I have really mixed feelings on the F1 movie just because just I don't know, it's never going to be as good as Turbo. Why even make another racing movie? I don't know. But the discourse that was happening this week is people were going in on the F1 movie for the engineers using MacBooks. And I was like, hey guys, I thought our issue with the F1 movie is the fact that they are using a female engineer as a plot device, and this movie likely will not pass the Bechdel test. Why are we so pissed off about? Why are we so? The MacBooks is where we draw the line. They're like, I'll forgive insane sexism, but
Mhm.
MacBooks, I draw the
Also,
line. I
like,
just thought that was funny.
first of all, is it that unbelievable to believe that someday an F1 team will be sponsored by Apple? No. Second of all, have we not established that Williams literally used an Excel spreadsheet to do everything for their team?
When did we suddenly all become experts on what kind of technology engineers use, guys? Like, for all I know, they're using iPads. It's like none of my frickin' business.
They use iPads in NASCAR to tell Christopher Bell his fuel is full and he can move on. I use a MacBook to produce this world-class podcast.
And I use a MacBook to make some of those silly little graphics you see every week. So,
The world is our oyster with MacBooks.
so what I'm basically essentially saying is like, oh my God, you guys will bitch about anything, and it's never the right thing to bitch about.
Why are we not
Well,
bitching
I'm
about
so
a
sorry to all the
60?
people that we were like, hey, if you're F1 fans, now's the time to start listening. I love you specifically. I'm talking about like the
No,
masses.
I'm. Are we not forgetting that Brad Pitt is supposed to be a 60-year-old F1 rookie?
I also, he, they also like totally invalidate the Daytona 500 for just no fucking, not the
The
Daytona
fact that
500, the Rolex 24.
the
Pardon.
fact that at Daytona, the fact that they let like IMSA must have given them permission to film
A
there.
100%.
Why did they do that? Did they know that that's how this was going to be used in the film? They probably saw that trailer and they were like, "Now, why'd you bring me into this?
What'd you say fuck me for?
We let you use our little fireworks show in the background of your trailer and made Brad Pitt look like he knew how to drive a car, and now you want to shit on me?"
Dude, it's doing everything that I have an issue with about F1 is just like being capitalized in this movie. And
Can
I
we do
think
an
that's why I'm so annoyed.
Can we do an entire episode when this movie comes out just about the movie? Like, can we like
I
take
think,
notes while we're in the theater and like just like go ahead and debrief?
yeah, sure.
Party. I
That'd
can't
be
wait
fun.
for that, guys. Because like
Can we
this is
also
like,
do one for Turbo just so we can compare it to like a good piece of racing cinema? So we have like a baseline?
yeah, why not? Or
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Well, Iron Man, maybe like for an episode, because you know how we have like one NASCAR movie, one IndyCar movie, or one NASCAR, IndyCar, F1 segments. That's how we do it on this podcast. Maybe we do like a movie for each. So we would do like for NASCAR, we would do like Logan Lucky. For IndyCar, we
Okay.
do Turbo. And then for Formula One, we do the Formula One movie. Or alternatively, Iron Man when they race in Monaco.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
this episode, if you like this episode, if you would listen to that.
Right, right. So moving on. It is 11:35. I have a hard cutoff at midnight before things get crazy. We have F1 in Imola. And I think that we've kind of established that this is probably one of the last times we'll be at Imola. So everybody was kind of like, so much history. So much history. The Italians. What are they going to do without us? It's like they have month, but they'll be fine. Um, it
They
was
have the
also
Indy 500 now.
the Italians will be fine. The Italians are gonna live. It's
They'll be
okay.
fine.
So we have the beginning of the week, Kimmy, this is his home race. He lives close to Imola. He lives in Bologna. Sounds like a fake place, whatever. And he brings in like a bunch of his school friends because they still want us to believe that this kid is going to school. Which Alex Albon, by the way, he was like, that kid's not going to school. He's not doing
Yeah, there's no
schoolwork.
way.
He was like, that kid is not graduating. Um, but he brings all his school friends to the paddock and like tries to like show them around and stuff. And I just kind of was like, they were like, he's doing it so that they can see a bit of his world. And I can't imagine what I would do if some fucking asshole that I went to high school with got famous and was like, I want to show these kids what it's like out in the big real world. And took
The
me like
other
10
side, how the
took
other half lives.
took me 10 miles from our hometown to watch him goof off in the paddock on media day. I'd be like, okay, so I've seen it's just as I thought. You take a bunch of pictures and drive a car. I didn't need to come here to see that.
Mm-mm.
Did you have anybody famous you went to high school with? You don't have to name drop them, but like, did you? Yeah.
Mm.
Would you appreciate if they took you to work for a day just to show you how the other half lives?
They they were DC superheroes.
Okay, then yeah, that'd be pretty cool then.
That I mean, that's a little bit cooler than like DNFing at your home race. I mean, like, you guys want to see me fly? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like anybody that got famous from my school. I mean, like I don't know. We have like an Olympic BMX biker. She's pretty cool, but like
That's sick. Hey, you're pretty famous.
from this pod, you just want to see how the other half lives, and it's just in my living room with a MacBook. Like, so this is my friend that lives in Iowa. So basically, you guys won't be able to hear. I have headphones on, but I'm just gonna talk to her for a bit, and then I'll show you guys how we edit it up.
You guys want to see me use Riverside real quick?
So what I do is I blur the background on the thumbnail, and it looks really nice. Do you guys see why we have a hard cutoff in 15 minutes? Um, so we have practice. Nothing really. I mean, we'll just do stuff in practice. You know, whatever. It's practice. Nothing that crazy happens. Um, oh,
Game on, game off.
but we also had qualifying. First, what a lap out of Q1. So Yuki has definitely been struggling throughout the week in practice, and he decides he does a Kyle Larson basically, which is like, I'm gonna go out here on lap one, and I'm gonna do something you guys have never seen before, and he basically crazy fucking jumps the curb and loses it into the wall so fast. We can laugh about it now because he's okay. Okay, he's
Mm-hmm.
fine. He flips upside down into the safer barrier, just absolutely eats it, guys. And the announcers are like, why did he do that? They're watching the replay and they're like, in what world is that going to do anything? And he basically, like, Yuki's like, I was trying to do something crazy. Like, honestly, get Yuki to the Indy 500 because this guy is
For
fit for
real.
that. Like, Yuki clearly has that type of crazy energy, which is like, he just was mad because he wasn't going very fast. And he's like, there's one way to go faster, cut across the whole track. And then he's like, oh, realizing why we've never tried that before.
He's just
They were
testing
like,
his boundaries.
yeah, they're like, his tires aren't even on the tarmac. Like, what was the plan here? Like, I don't know. But he's obviously red flags Q1 right out the gate. And then we have Franco, who it's like his first time out since he didn't put on Alpine. And I think the day before, Flavio Briatore was like, hey, that 5 race thing is a lie, by the way. He's allowed on the team as long as he goes fast and doesn't crashes. He goes out
Sure.
there Oh my God. He did like a similar thing where he basically just gassed it while fully on like those slick white lines on the outside of a turn. And they're like, that's a given. You can never do that in F1. Like they're like, that's never worked ever. And so he also ends up eating it into a wall. Also okay, which is good. But I just was like, oh, God, he sounded really defeated on the radio too. And I feel bad because he has so much pressure on him because of Alpine, just the shit show that they're running. And I'm like, but I will say, guys, we're going to come close and we're going to whisper so that, like, so his fans don't get mad at us, okay? I was worried about his crashing at the end of his stint at Williams because he's fast, he's quick, but he's a little danger prone. He do be crashing. And at Williams, yeah, they were like, it's almost the end of the season and we already kicked out Logan Sargent for this kid, so like whatever. But I'm worried that that's not how this is going to work this year. He's got to keep that damage bill down, way down. He's fast. He was the same fucking pace as Pierre Gasly. He can't crash like that, bro. He wrecks the car when he does. He did the same thing in Vegas. He just
Do you
totals it.
remember when Kimi Antonelli had his like first practice in or I think it was George's car actually.
Yeah, it was
And
George.
goes out, was super fast, sends it like straight into a wall, and all Toto said was like, "Did you see how fucking fast he was before he crashed?" That's the energy.
Oh my
Andrea
God.
had water in her mouth, apparently. That's the energy that Alpine is gonna have to have with Franco. How many? Let's do a little prediction because famously we're super good at predictions. How
Okay.
many crashes before the rumors come out that they're gonna replace him? Not that he's going to be replaced, but just the rumors start to be like it's a serious possibility that he will be replaced by pick a
I
name.
think if he safety car causes 3 times, and what I mean by that is like you can, as we saw with like Kimmy, go off and like cause a safety car without it being a full damage crash. If he does that, and
Mm,
I'm including practice sessions and qualifying in this, by the way.
wow.
Three safety cars, and they're gonna like start the rumors.
Including the crash that he just had, or like three
Mm-hmm.
from now.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
think
like
that's probably a
two
pretty
more,
good guess.
because
I
I think
think,
that we do forget, but he I think crashed a couple times during practices and qualifyings at Williams too, and
absolutely.
because the boys said maybe Yuki should go bowling sometime. I mean, like
No.
it was like so funny how it was like both of them. It was just like that was never gonna work. But yeah, I think 3 times. I mean, if you have tentatively until Silverstone before they're gonna consider you staying or not, if you've
Hmm.
caused a safety car 3 times of your own like rookie mistakes, they're gonna, I think, start the rumors. That doesn't mean that they'll kick him because he has the sponsors and he has
Money.
he's a very scary fan base. I don't think Alpine is prepared for what would happen if they would have to get rid of him. Um, and they also don't have anybody particularly promising to replace him with. I mean, they have Paul Aaron, but Paul Aaron, I think he's maybe done one FP1 last year. Like he doesn't have much experience. Jack DeWin, he's still there, but I'm like, I can't kick him while he's down. Like I don't think you can put him back out there. So I think 3, including the one we just had. So he's on
I think
2.
that's a good guess. Yeah.
It sucks. Um, but not as bad as it sucks to be a Ferrari in Italy during Q2 because they were both out, and
I feel
they
bad
were
for him.
they were knocked out by Aston Martin, which I was like, that's
Yeah, but they were only, weren't they 11th and 12th? I'm like, you guys are a bunch of big babies. 11th
mhm,
and 12th? I used to pray for days like those. 11th
mhm.
and 12th, that's how we thought Ferrari was going to do. Just because they're in Italy does not make them better. That's just not scientifically how it works.
Well, I think here's the difference. At Williams, you used to pray for times like that because you had like no money, no money,
But
no
they've
family,
been
16 in the middle of Miami.
middle of
That was
Miami.
that.
but they've been consistently not that
No,
great
that's correct. That's
this
great.
year. So why were we going into Imola being like, me, it's probably going to be pole position? I think for both Ferraris are going to share pole position. Like what
So I
they
think
did,
it
how they've
was.
been doing, but just like slightly worse.
No, I agree with I agree with you. I think why people were so upset is because Ferrari, and I've always hated this about them. They did the same thing last year. It's so dumb that they do this. They will hold off on fixing the car just for like Imola, Monaco, and Monza.
Yes.
And do you know how dumb that is, by the way, guys? Like last year, they literally were like, we knew it was wrong the whole time. We just wanted to wait till Monaco to get it sorted out. And I was like, why though? Can we specify why? Because it seems like that's a weird strategy. And they were like, Charles's home race. And I'm like, no, I get that. But do you think Charles would have maybe wanted to win Miami or Imola? Or
Maybe
what do
any
you
of
what do you think?
the other ones. They're guys, I gotta be honest, they have a pain fetish. They're toying with you. There's something happening. They're getting off on your misery. You can't stop feeding into it. You
Go to
simply have to
Prema.
stop. Go to Prema. I don't know if you know this, but rookie Robert Schwarzman, who has never done an oval before and is on Prema, who has never done an oval before, is actually on pole for the Indy 500, which is maybe one of the biggest races. I would say is arguably the biggest racing spectacle of the year.
You
And that
guys would
shouldn't have
love it.
happened.
Hi,
Actually, do
welcome.
you think
If you clicked on the F1 timestamp, we're so pleased to tell you about the Team
the
Prema.
Indy 500?
I don't know. But they did get beat out by Carlos Sainz, who topped Q2, which was kind of funny. And I love the theory that Williams is actually a promotion for Carlos. I think that's so funny, and I think we should keep saying it.
I
I
think it
laugh every
is.
time. I laugh every time. He's having fun. He has a teammate he enjoys. He just gets to hang out with James Vowles, which he personally I think likes. I don't know if it's everybody's cup of tea. And he hangs out. He wears backwards caps a lot now, which for a 30-year-old
That
man I think is like showing like happiness somehow. I don't know.
he's getting that for. I think Alex Albon is keeping him young. Alex, who is like 28, he's keeping him young.
Good job, Carlos and Alex, because they both make it to Q3. Not Kimi Antonelli, by the way. He gains out in Q2 for the first time this year, and I think it was just honestly, if I'm gonna be honest, I think that Kimi, we're gonna probably see more of this when we go back to Monza. I think he struggles with home pressure, home race pressure. I don't really think it's good for him. I don't know if you watched the Netflix show that they came out with on Kimi. It's like 45 minutes long and it's like one episode. It's pretty good. I don't think it needed to be a whole show, but it's fine. And they talk about his crash in Monza. They basically show like the lead up of them being like, you're a Mercedes driver. You're going to go out and have P1. No worries. Just go out and have fun. Don't crash, whatever. And he just like freaks out about the fact that it's like his home race and his whole family's there and everybody in Italy is so excited. And I kind of feel like it must have been the reason why he was out. Like he just was like freaking out.
If we're freaking out about it being our home race, how do we think inviting our entire class to come watch us
Uh,
helps? Which is why I think they were all hired and they're all actors and he's not actually in school. I'm with Alex Albon. He's right.
I think he's pretending to go to school. I don't think he's in. I don't think he's doing it well. I think he's gonna flunk out, but I think he's trying to pretend he's enrolled.
Yeah.
That's
Bless his
fair.
heart.
I wouldn't go to school if I were him, but what do I know? Um. Anyways, Kimmy, just fucking take a breather or something. Please do not freak
Just
out anymore.
chill,
You're hungry.
Kimmy.
And then we have Oscar,
Oscar.
Oscar Piastri in pole, and we have Max in second, George in third, Lando in fourth.
George.
I gotta say a couple things. One, Oscar was really bad at qualifying last year, at least comparatively to Lando. He fixed that. He fixed that. He dialed in. He's been getting these qualifyings down. What's up with Lando? Do we know? Do we care? I don't know if I care anymore, to be honest. I'm out of care for him on Saturdays. It's like he's just gonna do that on Saturdays.
Yeah.
This is what
It's
he
weird
does
because like
now.
some weekends he will do like it's never balanced. It's never like he has a good qualifying and also has a good race. It's like one or the other. And I feel like this weekend it was kind of like okay, your qualifying was kind of like meh, but
Meh.
then he did fine in the race.
Yeah. I don't know what his issue is. And I think like he's come to like not care as much anymore too if he does bad in
Hmm.
qualifying because they're so fast in race pace that he's like, yeah, we'll get him. Don't even worry about it. But we get to the race and we have the first time that Oscar's ever been in front of Max. And everybody's like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And everybody like on the pre-grid walk are like, what's gonna happen under turn one? And Max kind of plays it coy of like, you know, I would go for it, but like, you know, we gotta be realistic about where our race pace is. It's probably not worth it. We probably can't keep them behind, whatever. And what?
And then keep going. There's a beeping somewhere deep in my house. It's none of my business.
I no worries. And they're like, wait, like, you know, he's like, there's no point in me getting out in front of Oscar and like risking my car if we're not even gonna be able to keep it. So I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna be very calm, cool, and collected. But then I'm also like, Max, you're such a fucking liar. You're such a lying bitch. Because then Christian Horner gets on and he's like, yeah, Max is gonna run him the fuck down. He's gonna run him off the track. He's gonna go crazy.
Max told
He
me. He told me he was going to do that.
he actually pulled me aside and said, I'm about to go psycho mode. And he gets out there and he has a like a late jump on the start and Oscar looks like he's pulling away. In fact, George also looks like he's pulling away. And you like kind of just like see something shift in like the air around Max, like an aura shift. And he just goes, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go around the outside both of these cars right now before turn one and then just go ahead and just do the most sicko crazy racing move you've ever seen in your entire life. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go psycho mode. And that's what he does.
And then he did. And he won the race from there.
That's all you need to know. That's what happened in F1, guys. Thanks for coming. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Because what we actually had happen, and I have notes on my phone, so like, don't yell at me, guys. Um, then we have they're on these medium tires, and the medium tires are actually the soft tires from last year. So they like kind of moved all the tires at an increment softer, and so they all thought, okay, we want to try to get to like lap 19 or so. And George and Carlos are like, that's not what's going to happen. And so they come in pretty early to pit. And all the commentators are like, yeah, the strategies I think are kind of getting thrown out the window right now because nobody knows what's going on. All these tires are degrading way faster than they thought. And so Piastri then comes in and has a pretty slow stop. It was like 3-ish seconds or something crazy like that. And like that's kind of a big deal when he already was kind of in a bad spot with letting Max out in front. And this was supposed to be his saving grace to get the undercut on Max. And then I just have to talk about this before we get into the safety car of it all. Fernando comes in and he has brake fires on his two front brakes. And I
Front
don't know,
wheels.
are you still listening to Sky Sports
Hmm.
broadcast? Okay, I feel so sorry for you because this week particular, I don't know what David Coulthard did. I don't know if he like took a shot before he went into the broadcaster's booth, but he was cracking me up. He goes, if you look closely here, Fernando's front brake on the right, it goes, oh, I'm gonna set on fire a little bit. And then the other one goes, oh, don't forget about me, I'm pretty hot too. And then later on, you see Oscar come out of the pits and he's behind Yuki. And they talk about, oh, they're probably going to tell Yuki to like hold Oscar up because that is who is racing Max at this point. And they're like, yeah, they usually have like a little code or something like that, you know, but like we know what it's going to mean. And then Red Bull comes over the radio and they're like, hey, what's up, Yuki? So behind you is actually Oscar, and we'd really appreciate it if you just don't let him by any means necessary because that's Max's opponent at the moment. So just go ahead and be crazy and psycho and keep him behind you. And there goes, yeah, engineer sounds pretty Scottish. He got right to the point. Hey, keep him behind you, son. And he's like doing he's like doing like skits up there, and like all the F1 TV people are like,
Oh,
Yeah, right. That's exactly what he said, David. He's like, "What are you on today?" Like they were all like, "What is this energy you're bringing to the booth?" But I think he was like, "I think we need a Townsend Bell, a Clint Boyer." He was being Clint Boyer, but like fun.
Where like Clint just like tries to add things to like zhuzh up the conversation. It's like, hey, that wasn't like super necessary, and actually you're holding us back right now. But his was like adding to it.
His had like fun little voices and characters. Clint,
I
try
wish I
that.
had that. I gotta
It's
get.
okay.
I gotta get the funds for F1 TV one day. I miss it.
Yeah. Um, and then safety car step ensues, and it throws everybody off. Norris pits 1 lap before the safety car, and so he's kind of done Zoe's ish in a way because of strategy. And then Max gets a free pit stop, and then everybody else who already pitted pits as well. And they talked about this on the commentary, and they're like, "Sure, you can do that because it's like a cheap pit stop, but like you're also giving up track position, and this is not an easy track to pass at. And if your tires are fine, like you could just not." But they all did it, and they were like, "I don't know why you guys all did that," including like Piastri and Charles Leclerc and George and Carlos and all those people that pitted early. They were just like, I guess. But it was brought out by Esteban Ocon, who had a power unit fit. Um, and that's
Again,
about, yeah,
how many times
where's
can the
Gene?
power unit fail? How many power units do we get?
Come on, Gene Haas.
Freaking Toyota.
And then I don't know, everything else kind of hit the fan a little bit. We had another safety car because Kimi Antonelli, his car died. Womp womp. And then we had behind this safety car, it ended up being that Lando was on tires that were 4 laps old. Oscar was on tires that were like 17 laps old. And Lando was like, hey, like on this restart, like, can I just like go for it? Like, can like I just get past Oscar real quick and like try to beat Max? And he just sees like Zach Brown and all them on the pit wall being like, should we allow that? What do you guys think? Do you guys think we should allow that? Oh, we missed it. The restart already happened. Oh, rat. Sorry, buddy. Maybe next time. And I'm going to be honest, me and MJ both are not like Lando's like biggest like grandstand supporters, but it's like he probably could have
They
gone in
should
front of
have.
Oscar and won that race, probably.
Had they let Lando by, I think there would have been a significantly better chance that we would have had a William, or not a Williams one, I don't know, a McLaren win. Could you imagine if they let Lando by and then somehow Alex Albon was on the top of the podium?
Well, I mean, he was up there all day. He ended up
We
finishing fifth, I think.
almost had it. There was one incident with Charles Leclerc where it was kind of it was kind of I would never say that Alex has done like anything wrong ever, but they were
Hmm.
side by side and like Alex goes off and it was just like the argument of whether or not Charles should have left the space for him, but like Alex did not have like he did not have that corner. But then Charles gave it back anyways and I was kind of like, that's like if you
Yeah,
don't take
yeah.
it, but like he didn't need to do that, I don't think. But I think there is something about the fact that it's like Alex that it's like, well, Alex would never like really do anything wrong, so you're probably in the wrong.
I mean, he's just happy to be here.
Yeah.
So you guys should be nice to him. They did kind of mess up Carlos's strategy, but I'm gonna be honest, of all the strategy fuck ups today, I think it's fair to say that nobody really had like any of their plan A, B's, or C's getting fulfilled to what they thought. The safety cars came at weird times. The tires were degging weird. Some of them had used
Right.
their medium tires during qualifying because the tires were so weird. And then now they have like used mediums. Like everything was just kind of shitty. And so I think the only strategy that I'm going to take away from this and be like, okay, that's maybe a rightful critique is the McLaren one. And it's because they ended up giving Max a win. Max doesn't need to be given wins. You should stop trying to give him those as many times as possible throughout the year.
That's the only strategy that I kind of am like, we can rightfully criticize that one. And that's because it's entirely in their control and they still kind of fucked it up. And I think that like that's the McLaren I know. They're coming back. You know what I mean? Which is that they have a great car, very fast, two great drivers, and they managed to make them both feel unhappy after a race. Both of them looked sad on the podium. Max won, and Zach Brown's there, I guess.
What a weekend.
I can't imagine what the comments look like on the McLaren Instagram right now.
I'm sure it's, I don't know. They're like, you can't win for losing with McLaren. At what point do we just fold the franchise?
They piss everybody off. Everybody's mad. Everybody's mad. They like, yeah, they just make everybody feel crappy because they could have had a win. And yeah, it seems like everybody's fighting. Just as I thought, everybody's mad. It is just like they have two drivers that like they find a way to make at least their public appearances look like they enjoy each other. But I would imagine that I wouldn't blame them if they're frustrated with each other because they get pitted against each other in this way. They have to ask to pass each other. They have to argue with whatever the response they get on the other line is from Andrea or Zach Brown or whoever makes those sorts of calls. And then they walk away in second and third. And I don't know, it's really sad. It's actually kind of sad to see. And if Max wins a championship again this year, it's on Andrea and Zach Brown's hands.
Yeah, they're just like handing it to them. It's crazy how there's a team that so consistently makes like wins and any achievements feel like icky. Like you never walk away from like a McLaren win and you're like, yeah, you're always like, well, a lot of it wasn't handled very well, but like at least it's a papaya win. I don't know.
Yeah. But I think so next week for F1 we have Monaco. I don't think we're going to get another Charles win. I think you can go ahead and, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to see another beautiful hometown victory, which is unfortunate because that was the only saving grace for a pretty boring race.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a Williams win.
He's on the walkway.
Alex, can you guys try real hard next weekend?
Please get P1. Like Robert Schwartzman, rookie.
Maybe P2 as well, if you want. You can get P2.
Yeah.
Like Takuma Sato.
Just like Takuma Sato.
You guys could be like Robert Schwartzman and Takuma Sato.
What
A duo.
pair.
Are you joking? What a duo. And if you guys like this episode, is that all? Is that what you want to talk about? Can I end it?
Yeah, you can end it. I don't know what our episode's going to look like next week. We'll figure it out when we get there because we have Monaco, the Indy 500, and the Coca-Cola 600. So just bear with us. We'll put something out. You know we'll have something to say.
It's going to be good. What we're saying is that we're obviously going to talk about it, and it's obviously going to be good. What we're meaning if we don't know what we're going to do is because we're scared it might be like a 3.5-hour episode. So we might have to make it 2 parts or something like that. We also have potentially an episode coming out on Friday. So that's a potential. That
Maybe.
might happen. Keep your eyes peeled. Alrighty.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.